Hello everyone. Let us see how to empty the table by removing all these objects in Photoshop. So let us start. So we have this image where we have fruits, cake and other utensils. So we will be removing all these things and we will be emptying the table. So first we will take a duplicate so that in the end we'll be having the original and we can compare the final output. Right. So let's take a duplicate here. So we'll unlock the background. Right. So we can hide the original and we can focus on the duplicate. We can start working on the duplicate. Right. So first thing is we will just roughly remove all the objects. So we will be using content aware. So first let's select the marquee tool and we'll start with this object. So just draw a selection around this object and then simply right click, and here we have the option fill, and we can select content aware from the list, and we got a pretty ugly output. It's not so interesting. So but let's keep doing. So the next thing we'll do is we will again use the marquee tool and we will draw a selection, and we will use the content aware option for the second time, and we can just slightly move the selection a little bit upwards. Right. Still we are not happy with the output. So we will then use the next tool, which is the patch tool. So we'll use the patch tool, and with patch tool we will try to just remove some of the pieces, or something like this. So in the beginning we will be seeing a lot of marks and patches. So we will be gradually removing everything. So now let's remove this glass. So we can just draw a selection and then we'll do the same thing. Right click, fill, content aware. Okay, this has gone perfectly, and here we can improve the area by removing these marks. So we can simply use the lasso tool, and we can simply right click, fill, and we'll select the same thing, content aware. Right. So let's try these areas also. Right. Right. So we have done a pretty good job, but still we have a long way to go. Right. So the next thing is we will now remove the objects that are on the table. So let's zoom into the image. So here some fruits are there. Let's remove these fruits. So we can try content aware. Okay, it has done a good job. So we'll do the same thing with this object. Okay, no, it has not done a good job. So we will use patch tool this time. Okay, right. So here also we have to do a lot of work. So we have to remove one object at a time. So something like this. So here when we are using the patch tool, make sure that the source option is active. So here we are getting a lot of marks. We can fix those things later, but let's slowly remove everything. So there are a lot of objects here. So we can zoom into these objects. Here some fruits are there, and again let's select the object with the lasso tool, and again we will right click and we'll select the content aware. Okay, right. So here we are just using the content aware as well as the patch tool, but we can also try those other tools. We'll be slowly using some other tools as well. Right. So now let's remove these fruits here. So we can just select them properly, and we will use the patch tool this time. So here, so we have used the patch tool, right. And then we also have this cake. We have to remove this cake. That's a little bit challenging here. So we'll use the patch tool here, right. So now the next step is, here we have to remove all these objects on the table. So that is a little bit tricky actually. So we can't directly use the patch tool or the content aware. We have to use some other technique here. So in order to remove the objects that are placed on top of this table, we have to first get the pattern of this tablecloth. So we will be using the pattern of this tablecloth, and we will be just replacing these objects with the tablecloth. So how we are going to do? Now let's see. Let us select pen tool, and what we'll do is we will just take a new layer. We will also select the shape option, and we can just use some color here, and here we will be just creating one shape, and we don't want the stroke here. And let's adjust it properly. We are just creating the shape on top of this table. So something like this, right. So then what we'll do is we will convert this shape into a smart object. So to convert this shape into a smart object, we have to just right click on the shape, right click on the shape layer, and here we have the option convert to smart object, right. And now we can see one small icon on the layer thumbnail of this shape layer. So we have to just double click on this smart object icon, so that one more document will open. So now what we have to do is, we have to just select the pattern on this cloth. So to select the pattern on this cloth, so what we can do, we will first just select the polygon lasso tool, and we will select the table layer, and here we can find this pattern. So we'll just draw a selection here, right. So then the next step is, we will just copy this pattern, and we'll come here and we will paste. So means we are pasting the pattern inside the smart object. So inside the new document, that opens when you double click on the smart object layer. Right. So then we will adjust it properly here. So we can just rotate it properly, and we can also use this warp tool here. So we can see here, we have to make it straight. Right. And then we will just duplicate this. We can flip it. Right. And we can also use the distort option here, so that it appears like a one single cloth material. And we can merge these two layers, and then we will just slowly adjust this particular design pattern. And we will cover this completely. So something like this. Right. And we can use a clone stamp here. If we see some seam at the middle, at the center, we can just remove it. Right. Right. Then one thing we'll do is we want this pattern to be a little bit bright, so we can just brighten it by using the curves. Right. So this looks better. Right. And now all we have to do is we will save. Just simply go to File and Save. And if we come back here, so we can see here. So here we can see our pattern is covering those objects. So we just have to adjust it properly here. So what we'll do is we'll again just double click here. So we can just select our pattern. We can just use the distort option here. Just we can keep it like this. Right. And we'll just save and then come back here. Right. Okay. So now we have to adjust it a little bit. So what we'll do is, so we will just apply a mask to this, and here we have some unwanted thing here, so we have to remove that. So we will just use a brush, and we will use a soft rounded brush. So just we have to just reduce the size of the brush, and just let's erase this unwanted piece here. So we have to be careful. Right. So just we have to just clear those edges. So the edge has to be smooth. Right. So we got some output here, although it's not looking clear. So what we'll do, we'll just continue to work on this. So now what we'll do is we will just use the brush. We'll select the mask. So here we will erase some portion on the top here. So just properly we'll do. right. So here also we can just slightly remove here. Okay, just over here, right. So we will adjust these areas later. Make sure that we don't just erase the pattern, right. So now see here, first we will work on this particular area. So we have to create a merged copy of all these existing layers. So for that, what we'll do is we will just use a keyboard shortcut, which is Ctrl Alt Shift E in PC and Command Option Shift E in Mac, so that instead of merging the layers, we are going to create a merged copy of all the existing layers. In that way, we will not be losing the original layers, right. So now we have a merged copy here. So now what we'll do is we'll select the rectangular marquee tool, and we will just draw a selection here, right. So now we will use the patch tool, and in patch tool this time we will select destination, and we will just drag this and keep it over here, right. So we can see here. So we'll do the same thing. We can just draw a selection here, and we'll use the patch tool. We'll keep destination here, and then just we will move the selection over here. Okay, we can still see some patches or marks or blemishes, and we can fix them later, right. But the most critical thing is over here. So we can still see these utensils, these plates. Okay, plates are hanging over this table, so we have to remove them. So for that, what we'll do is we will just zoom into these objects. So here it's looking very ugly, so we will just select the laser tool, and we will try to just draw a selection here, and then we will use the patch tool, and we can just, oh sorry, here destination is there. We will just keep it source, and then just drag here, something like this. So although it's not looking nice, so we can also do one thing. We can just replace this particular area with the bottom design actually. So we can do one thing. We can just select it only this much, and then we can just drag it. Okay, so here it's a little bit difficult here, so we have to be very careful, and we are also going to fix these shadows. We'll be removing those shadows. Right, so right now it's not looking attractive here, so we have to do a lot of work here in this particular area. So we'll just come back to that area, right. So then we will see other places here. We'll fix this particular area here. So what we'll do, we will select the polygon lasso tool. We will just slowly select this much area here, and we will just use the patch tool, and we can just move it below like this. And also we will just use this portion outside, and we will use the patch tool again, and then simply drag like this, right. So we have cleared a little bit here, but still there is a problem. We will fix it later. So here we have an issue. We will fix it. So we can see here, so we lost the seam here, the edge of this table is not visible here. So what we can do is we'll just use the lasso tool, and we can just draw our selection here, and then we can just copy it. We can just copy the selection and then we can just paste it. Ctrl Shift V, and then we can just use the arrow keys, or we can use the move tool to move, and we can just fix the edge. So now we have fixed the edge. So then we can merge these two layers, right? And also we can improve this particular area. So what we can do is we can use the clone stamp tool, and then we can just hold Alt or Option in the Mac and then click to sample the area, and then we can just remove the disturbance, right? So then we will now start fixing the issues in other places. See here, it is looking very ugly, so we will now improve this area. So first what we'll do is we will remove these shadows. So we don't need shadows over here. So for that what we need to do is we will just use the lasso tool, and we can just draw our selection just so like this, and we will use a curves adjustment layer, and these curves will target only the area that we have selected with the lasso tool. So we can just brighten up. So we can see here, although it's brightening the area, we have to fix it properly. So just we have brightened it, but still we have to do a lot of work. So let's leave it like this. So then what we'll do is we'll again take a merged copy here, Ctrl Alt Shift E or Command Option Shift E, and then we will use the spot healing brush here, and we can also use so we have to just paint 2 or 3 times. With the spot healing brush, right? Still there is issues here, so the color is also not the accurate one. So what we'll do is we'll just first just make the edges soft. Right. So then what we'll do is we will select the lasso tool again, and this time we will just draw a selection again. We can also use a feather here. We'll use a feather of let's say 5. Right. So now we will fill this selection with this particular color. So we can just find a color of this cloth, something over here. So let's select a bright tone, and after selecting the bright tone, we will now fill this selection with this particular color. Okay, so then we will use our blending mode that will blend this color. Okay, we can use color. We can also try other blending modes here. So but none of these blending modes are nice. Only color appears to be a close one. So we can just select the color. So we can also select the saturation. Okay, saturation looks nice, so we'll finalize the saturation. Right, so then we will take one more merged copy here. Right, so here we have some disturbance, so we will fix these disturbances. Right, so what we can do is we can use a clone stamp and just fix these disturbances. Right, so we have to just spend some time here. So it's okay if we just are able to remove in such a way that nobody can identify. Right. Right. So we have fixed this particular area to a certain extent. Still we have to do it. So we'll come back to this particular area again later. So we will also try to just fix this particular area here. So here we can see there are some shadows, so we can just erase them using the clone stamp. We can just use the clone stamp and erase. So we can just fix it over here. Right, so we have cleared some of the critical portions, but still we have to do some work. So we will now fix the disturbance that is over here. So there is a lot of disturbance on top of this table. So what we'll do is we will first select the marquee tool here, and we can observe the background. So we want the background. We will copy the background and then we'll place it over here. So we'll just select the background region here. We'll just copy it and then we will paste it. And now we will use the Move tool and then we'll just keep it over here. Right. We can use the dark and blend mode. So we can see here how it has blended properly. And we can just take a duplicate of the same layer. We can just move it. We will also flip it. Just activate the transform tool and right click and we will flip it. So we can see here. Right. So now it looks fine. So then we can merge these two layers. Right. Then we just need to remove some of these areas here. So we can see sharp edges here. So to remove those sharp edges, what we need to do is we'll first merge these two layers, the table layer and also these rectangles, and then we will use the patch tool and we will just slowly remove these sharp edges. So you can just spend some time and remove these areas. Right. So this looks better. And the next step is, so see this part is still looking ugly. So we have to find a way to fix this particular area. So what we will do is, so here the thing is we have to also copy the pattern or let's say the design. So here we have this design. So we will just select the design over here or the pattern over here and we will place it in this spot, in this region. So for that, what we'll need to do is we'll select the lasso tool. So we will just select this much portion here. We'll also give some feather. So let's give a feather of let's say 5. Oh, okay, and then we will just copy it, paste it, and then we will just simply drag this particular portion here. So we can also rotate it properly. And then what we'll do is we will use our blend mode here. So we can use lighten. Okay, we can try lighten, or we can try some other blending modes here, but we want the pattern. So okay, lighten looks better, so we can stick to the lighten. Other blend modes are too bright actually. So we can also try this one, color dodge, but color dodge looks very bright. Okay, still we can keep it if you want, right? So this looks better. Okay, and then again we will merge these two layers. Okay, so then we still have some issues here, so we will just fix it. We will use the patch tool again. Right. So we will also try the clone stamp here. So we have to use a combination of patch tool as well as the clone stamp. Right. So this looks better. Okay. So then the next step is, we need to just fine tune everything here. So what we'll do is we will also just select the polygon lasso tool, and we want this border. We'll just copy the border, and we will also give some feather to it. So we'll just give a small amount of feather to it, and we'll just copy it, and we will paste it, and we will just move this one. So we can move it like this. So we can move it till the end. So something like this. Right. So we can also just flip it if we want. Just we'll scale it. Right. So now this looks better. So again we will merge these two layers. Right. So then we will just focus in this particular area, and then we will fix the issues. So if we can solve this area, that's fine. That will be all. So just what we need to do is here we can see some disturbances. So we can use the patch tool, and then we can clear it. So here also we can see some disturbances here. Right. So we will now use a clone stamp here. Right. And one more thing is, see, we can see the line, the folding here. The folding line is missing here. So we also want to get back that folding line. So what we can do is, so we can just copy this much area here. So we can just copy it, and then we can paste, Then we can use the move tool and move it. Just we can move it like this. But one thing is I forgot, that is I need to give some feather to it, because if you don't give feather you will not see a proper blending. So just right click feather, will give a feather value of, let's say 4. Okay, and then we'll just copy and paste, and then we can just move it. So we can see here. So now we can see that line, right? And here on the left side also we will do the same thing. Again we will merge these two layers. We will also just select the border here. So we'll just give it a feather value of 4. We'll just copy and paste, and then we'll use the move tool and then move. So that's it. Just we can use the arrow keys to nudge, right? So here we are able to fix these issues here, right? So again we will merge these two layers, right? So we are almost at the business end of our tutorial. Just we have to do some more things here, right? In case we think there is some bump over here, so what we can do, we can just use the clone stamp. And then just we can get rid of that bump, right? And here we can also use a blur tool. So we can just use a blur tool to blur some of the portions. So we should not see any disturbance. That's all we need actually, right? And one last thing we will do is we will again now just copy this design. So here we can copy some part of the design. Just will give some feather to it. Copy it and then we'll paste it, and again we'll just keep it over here. We can rotate it. Oh sorry, we will rotate it in this way. And we can combine it again with a blending mode. So we can try let's say we can try soft light, okay, or we can try darken or lighten. So we'll use lighten. And just we will merge, and just we will finish off the problem here. So here we can use a clone stamp to just get rid of these disturbances, right? And we will also use the blur tool, right? So then the next step we see here, we can just fine tune these areas. We can use the patch tool, and if you think there are some extra patches here, so we can just fix them. So right now nobody can discover any patches here, so it's looking perfect actually, right? Right, so this looks better. And the one thing that we can do is, so we can just use a curves adjustment layer, so we can just brighten it up. So we want the tablecloth to be brightened, and we will just invert the mask. Right, and now we will just use the brush. We'll use the soft rounded brush and make sure that white is the foreground color, and we will just paint over these on this cloth actually. So just we can paint on some places just like this. So that's it, so that the cloth looks a little bit bright. Right, so that's it. So see here, we are able to remove all the objects and we are able to empty the table. We have used patch tool, content aware, as well as we have used the blending modes, adjustments, and finally we are able to empty the table. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please do like, share, subscribe, and if you have anything to say, do comment. See you again.